I've been looking to find just the right piece of white pine. I found a tree here, a giant piece of top of a tree, maybe the crown, maybe a big branch, that's off the ground, and it feels firm, so I'll cut and see if this will be a good piece for our friction fire. I think that'll do. Nice, consistent, clean, white, no pitch in there, firm, and definitely dry. So I'll go ahead, I'll use this piece here. Well, I've got all my foraged edibles. Now it's time to prepare the feast. To start the feast, to start the fire, I've got that white pine that was collected earlier. I'm going to turn this into a friction fire bow drill kit, and we'll see if we can get the fire going. Guys, welcome to Green Frog's autumn foraging menu. I've got all my ingredients laid out on the table here, all the foraged ingredients from the forest and the field. The first part of the meal will be the salad. So I already combined some of my salad ingredients. I've got in here some garlic mustard leaves, some nettle leaves. I have a touch of lamb's quarter in here, some onion grass. Let's see what else. I have a couple of these crab apples that I found. I cut a few up, I put a few in whole. And then what I did is I took a squeeze. I grabbed a handful of the autumn olive berries, and I just squeezed the juice into the bowl. I had to flick out a couple seeds. Each berry has a seed in it. I flicked out some of those seeds, and I was able to kind of make like a salad dressing drizzle out of all foraged ingredients. So that'll be the salad to start the meal. And then we're gonna have an appetizer or a soup. The soup is going to be a wild mushroom, wild rice nettle soup. So I've got some wild rice here. This is going to take a while to cook, so I'll put that in first. I'm going to process up some hen of the woods. I've also got a couple pieces of chicken of the woods. I'll process them real small, put them into the soup when it's ready, and I'll also toss in a bunch of nettle. I've got a bunch of stinging nettle here that I'll use. Now, I'll also make an entree, of course. The entree, I've got a venison heart that I'll cook up, and I'm going to flavor that with spice bush berries. And I've also got for it some wild leeks. And you know, one wild leek is like a bag full of onions. So I'm going to process those small, and I'll put them onto the side and see how they go along with both the venison heart and also trout. Brought some trout along to the meal. So that'll be the entree. I also have these wild apples. I could cut up some wild apples. That'll go well with the entree, as well as maybe some more nettle. I could toss some more nettle into the side. I think that'll be a nice combination of a tasty bite. For dessert, we don't want to forget dessert. I'm going to make a bannock, but I want to have 50-50 flour and acorn flour. So I've got my white flour, and then I also have my acorn flour. So I'm going to combine the two, you know, with a touch of baking soda that I have in there. And I'm going to use the grapevine water. You remember I collected some grapevine water. I'll mix in some grapevine water with that, and then I'm going to turn it into a tart. I'm going to put on top some cooked apple, some of the little bits of fox grape. I have a couple fox grapes here. I'll try to get any seed out of there before I put them in. And then I'll make a drizzle out of the autumn olive berries, whatever's left. And with each meal, I think it'll be fun to make a tea. I have a mix of different teas to choose from. I've got the Triple S tea with the spice bush, the sweet birch, and the sassafrass. I have white pine, so I can make a white pine tea. I also have sweet fern. Sweet fern, really, it's one of my favorites. Smells terrific. They're all my favorites, but this is I don't find it as often, so when I do, I like to grab a couple handfuls for a tea. So I've got got those choices for teas. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that'll be terrific. So I'll be able to put a tea together with each part of the meal. Okay, so here's my spread. I even made a little jar here, with a nice little table display. Oh, and to cook it all, I don't want to forget to cook it all. I've actually got bear grease. So this is from a while ago, but I've held on to it. I've got some bear grease that I'm going to use as my oil. To start the fire, I used that white pine bow drill, and then I had a bunch of white pine tree shavings that I used, and then a couple sticks and leaves just floating around. But to keep the fire going, to build up a coal base, I've got a bunch of oak that I just found almost on the forest floor. I'm going to split that, and I'll be using that. Cutting up my mushrooms, my wild mushrooms, for the wild mushroom, wild rice nettle soup. All that nettle, the hen of the woods and the chicken of the woods, it's all going to go in with wild rice. There's our sweet fern tea. See if you can catch the color. Wish you could smell it. Very good. The autumn olive helps, and these little crab apples are delicious. So yeah, the sweetness, the tartness, along with the greens goes together quite well. With some of the stems, I could have done a bit of a better job cutting some of these stems off, but it's still good. I got some sweet fern tea to wash it down. Looks like the rice is just starting to absorb all that water. It's fluffing up a bit. It takes almost a full hour for wild rice to really get to the point where it's absorbed water and it's become somewhat soft. So I think we're pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add my wild mushrooms and the wild stinging nettle as well. Check that out. You can see the chicken of the woods on there, the nettle, the wild rice. That doesn't look like I got a piece of hen, but I'm gonna give it a try. Very hot, of course. Yeah, that's excellent. Now that's a good bite. I've got chicken of the woods on there, hen of the woods. I've got the nettle, and I have wild rice. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, with the spice bush flavoring too. That brings it all together. Really good. I'll tell you what, after a long day of foraging, this is terrific. All right, I've got a nice hot bed of oak wood coals. I put some rocks on the sides to hold up a pan. I didn't bring a grill. I do want to use a pan. So what I'll do is I'll just balance it in between the rocks here. And that'll do just fine. So I've got two dishes I'll be cooking. One was the venison heart and the other was the trout. I'm going to go ahead and fry up in that bear grease. I'm going to fry up some of these chopped up wild leeks first. Got the venison heart here. I'm going to go ahead and just make some slices. I think I'll go ahead, I'll save the rest. Got a couple nice slices here. All right. I was looking forward to this course. Got my venison, my nettle, and my leeks. Check that out. Excellent. I'm gonna crack a little bit of spice bush berry on there. Kick it up. That is terrific. Very good. Very pleased with the way the venison came out. You know, venison, you don't want to overcook it. You don't want to undercook it. I tend to try to, be more on the side of overcooking just to feel safe. That looks good to me. Still tender, not chewy. Very good. I'm going to sleep well tonight with a full tummy. To make the pine tea, I like to boil water and then dip in the pine tip branches just like you would a tea bag. That way it's easy to clean. I could pull these right out. But with this Stanley cup system, you've got the top, the lid, that has the holes, so I could also strain it right through those holes. I'll wait till the needles lose their color, till they turn a bit yellow, until I can see that the water's picked up some color. All right, next up is the trout, and I'm going to flavor it with some wild leeks. I've also got some onion grass. I'll let that cook up. And I have some sumac berries. I want to try them as a spice. I had to pick these carefully, try to get just the cleanest, the sweetest, tangiest berries. I'm going to give this a try and put in a couple sumac berries. And we'll see how that flavors up the meal. Okay, now we've got trout. The skin is always tasty. See if I can get a scoop with some hen of the woods, with some leek. And I don't know about, well, look at that. Oh, that's pretty good. The onion grass fried up, that tastes delicious. Get a bit of that. Gotta use my hands here. Yeah. I don't get a lot of sumac, but I did notice at one point I must have had one on my tongue and did get a good taste of that sweetness. Whoops. with that. That's some good trout meat. That's a good bite. We got trout, onion grass, leek, hen of the woods, and a bit of sumac. Very good. I've got some ingredients for the bannock: the acorn flour, the white flour. Got some walnut. Cracked a couple walnuts, smashed them with a rock. Got a bit of fox grape, some autumn olive, and these apples, which are really delicious, alone. But I want to mix them in. So I'm going to start preparing these ingredients. I've got the fires. I put some more oak on it just to build up some more coals, so we can make a nice bannock. See, there's still a whole bunch of seeds in the autumn olive. I'm going to see if I can pick some of them out. If I leave a couple in, I'm sure it'll be just fine. There's the triple ST and the fruit cooking. Here's my bannock, mix of acorn and white flour. Gonna smush it flat and let it cook. The walnut dessert. Well, I had a good time on the challenge. I found a lot of different foraged ingredients. I was able to put together some meals. I think I learned a lot. I'll do a write-up, a description of some of the lessons that I took away from all this. Right now I'm just going to enjoy my bannock tart. Bannock didn't quite come out as a whole bannock, but that's okay. It tastes great. It might not look perfect, but it tastes great. Got the bannock, the fruit, and a bunch of walnuts sprinkled on top.